Welcome in to Rogers Rules. Cam fist bumping as usual. He's on the other side of the cam. Totally expected and intended that pun.
Cam on the cam, and yeah, fist pumping, jamming. It's cam jam. That's what we're doing. Cam jam.
Oh, no, the only cam jam I know, and you may need to remove the M and put an N, is when you throw a frisbee and just drop it into a trash can. That's the
That is
only
my
cam
game.
jam.
That is my game, my friend. I have it
You
in my
invented it?
car right now. No, it's in my car right now. I can pull it out. We could throw some frisbees around. It's going to be a great time.
Here's what we'll do. You bring one of the cans over to my house. I will set the other one in your office, and we'll just throw and watch it go through the screen and into the can.
Long distance can jam. I'm in.
That's how we play it. That's how we do it.
Let's roll.
Because we play the long game, which is exactly why we're talking about Dynasty rookies today. Because it's all about getting that diamond in the rough or that young stud early so that you can watch his career path on your fantasy team. I mean, we are in the height of fantasy football draft season right now. Whether it's your full league, your full redraft, or it's a league like this where you just draft rookies. Cam, I'm not even kidding. There's a buddy of mine that is participating in a fantasy draft still, and it started on Monday. Okay? You're probably wondering, make it make sense. It's an unlimited time to pick, and it could span 8 days. It could span half a month. It could be a 2-hour draft if people are all paying attention, but they do it throughout the workday. And I'm like, bro, this is ridiculous. No one in their right mind should have 30 to 40 hours to make one draft pick. Nobody. It's ridiculous. Oh, and he's gone. Cam chose to no longer be here. Why? Because he's probably one of those guys. Cam, are you one of those guys? Come back and answer me. Fantasy Pros has a list out, and you can get these anywhere. You could get it on CBS, ESPN, but the top 10, according to Fantasy Pros, is Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1. And that's no surprise to anyone. No surprise at all. He's wide receiver 1. He was the first big dog off the board after 3 quarterbacks went in the draft, and Arizona found a special one in Marvin Harrison Jr. He's just different. He's built different. His dad was different. Marvin Harrison Jr. is by far 1.0. That's it. He's your pick. He is the average number 1 rookie to come off the board. Where you get to 2 and 3, it may get a little more interesting because you have Rome Odunze, who is on arguably a better team now. People may, throw some or shoot some arrows at me when I say that, but Chicago looks good this year. And I know I'm a Chicago fan, but if you look at their team on paper, I just don't see the separation we used to see with teams not only in the NFC North, but just in the NFC. This Chicago team easily could be a playoff team this year. Easily. They're top 3 in defensive returning production. And just look at the way they laid out their offense. You get your quarterback, the Messiah, the one you were looking for. Then you get DeAndre Swift to fill a void at running back. You bring in Keenan Allen, that when healthy on the football field, he can be a top 15 receiver in the league. You pair him up with a guy like Rome Odunze now, things are looking a little bit brighter. Things are looking a little bit better for this Chicago Bears team. It's going to be a different season for them. It's all going to be based on, can Caleb Williams transition the way people expect him to, and can that offensive line give him some time to work, essentially. But Rome Odunze could go 2 in most rookie drafts. Now, Malik Neighbors is the other one to keep an eye on because those LSU wide receivers always tend to pan out, especially a guy with the talent of Malik Neighbors, somebody that had and is expected to have more talent than, say, a Justin Jefferson coming into the draft. Or, I mean, maybe he's similar to a Jamar Chase. I think that could be a pretty good comparison, but Malik Neighbors could go 2. Here's where I'm kind of in I don't know, a cycle, because it's like a tizzy, right? I have to draft pick 4 in my rookie draft this year, expecting that Marvin Harrison Jr. goes 1. Who goes 2 in my league? The league is a point per rush league. So now you look at a Jonathan Brooks or a Trey Benson and think, maybe damage could get done at the running back position. I mean, you look at Jonathan Brooks. I know Carolina's not a good team, but Jonathan Brooks was the next best thing to Bijan Robinson. And he's RB1 coming into this draft. Is he going to take over for Chuba Hubbard? Miles Sanders wasn't it in Carolina. Is Jonathan Brooks going to be the guy? We'll have to just wait and see. But he's on average to go at pick 8, but in a point per rush league, there's more value there. So does he go 2? And I'm sitting here thinking, with pick 4, the guy who has pick 3 ahead of me, also a Bears fan, he's taking Rome. It's a done deal. And when you think about filling needs on a dynasty team, you always have to go back to, what is the hardest position to fill? Is the hardest position the quarterback, or is the hardest position a tight end? I always find it to be the hardest position to fill is the tight end. Because if you can have a good tight end, that can easily separate you in most fantasy weeks. I mean, just think about Travis Kelce over the last 5 years on how he was a top 10 pick in leagues because it mattered to have a good tight end. Who came next? Mark Andrews when he was on the field. I mean, when Jimmy Graham was a really good tight end, he was somebody highly sought after. But beside that, it was, okay, I guess I'm just going to rock Mercedes Lewis this week. And maybe I stream tight ends because that's just what you kind of have to do. Maybe it's Tyler Higbee the next week or whatever it may be. Although I do have one other nugget. There's a really good tight end in Arizona. Arizona is going to be a lot better than they were last year. But Trey McBride, he was on fire last year. Like hot on fire to close out the year. Don't stretch too far in a draft to get a Travis Kelce this year or a Sam Laporta. That's another great example. These are just coming to the top of the mind. You could also find your way to Trey McBride town and be happy with that pick. Now, where he should go in a draft, I think in terms of dynasty, he should be the second tight end off the board. But if it's like a redraft dynasty, but in terms of what we're talking about today, Brock Bowers, he's somebody that, I mean, he's just special. He really is. He was special at Georgia. And even though Las Vegas doesn't have a quarterback right now, that doesn't mean next year they won't. Let's say they're the worst team in football. They get Carson Beck. Or, a lot of people have Shadir Sanders up there. I'm not bought into the Shadir hype. I think he still needs more growth, maybe more growing up to do to be what you're expected of in the NFL. Cam Ward, maybe another good one. Cam Ward, very good quarterback. Incarnate Word to Washington State to now Miami. Las Vegas will end up with a quarterback. So why not buy into the Brock Bowers hype now? Because especially if it is Carson Beck out of Georgia, you got that pairing again. Now you have that stack that was prevalent for those Georgia teams over the last couple of seasons. Brock Bowers is beast. So that's where I'm leaning because of how hard it is to fill the tight end position. And maybe it's not this year, but it's next year. I know O.J. Howard came in with a lot of hype way back when, and I bought into that hype. He just didn't pan out. But Brock Bowers, he's it. He's the one. I think he'll be who I land at 4 if he doesn't go at 2. The expectation would be for Malik Neighbors to go at 2. Now, if Malik Neighbors doesn't go at 2, let's say Jonathan Brooks goes at 2. I am going to be in a world of hurt looking at Brock Bowers and Malik Neighbors and wondering who I draft. Is it this or that? Because when you're this high up, you can make mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes in dynasty drafts. I drafted Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb in one draft, and Jerry Jeudy didn't pan out, and I traded CeeDee Lamb before the season because I wanted my Chicago running back, and the guy I traded CeeDee Lamb to had David Montgomery at the time. He was a Cowboys fan. It worked out. It was a good marriage until CeeDee Lamb became the best wide receiver in football, and Jerry Jeudy didn't pan out to do anything. And here I am, still trying to figure out how to draft. And that's what we all are doing, right? We're all trying to figure this out. Now, I think guys to keep, in the back of mind, Xavier Worthy in Kansas City. Anybody you can pair up with Patrick Mahomes is a win. Who knows the status on Rashee Rice as of right now. I also really like Keon Coleman and Ricky Pearsall. Both are very good wide receivers. Both have showed a lot of promise in their college careers. I mean, I've always been a Keon Coleman fan. I mean, watching him play in the Big Ten at Michigan State, and then, I mean, anytime you get a dual threat guy, somebody that is a basketball player and a football player, a dual threat athlete, is somebody that's going to be just a special overall talent, a special overall player. So he's somebody to really keep an eye on. I would expect him to go in most drafts in the top 10, more toward the back end, like 9 or 10, but early second round, if not. And I don't think he should fall that far. I think Keon Coleman is much better than maybe his pre-ranking of 12 or 13. But Xavier Worthy, also a name to keep an eye on. And then Brian Thomas Jr., I know I skipped right over him, but he's in Jacksonville. And it's always good to be with a young quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, and he's just another weapon for that team. So that's kind of how you build out those wide receivers. There's a lot of talent on the back end. I also have pick 9 in the draft due to a previous trade, so I could end up with a Keon Coleman, a Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr., a Ladd McConkey is another one for the Chargers. I mean, what they're trying to fill the need of losing Keenan Allen. Justin Herbert's got to throw the ball to somebody. Quentin Johnson wasn't it last year. And if it's not him, I don't know who it is. Ladd McConkey, if he can stay healthy, he could see, and you could see value in year one. I would expect him to return kicks as well. Now, as far as quarterbacks go, you have Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. They'll go on the higher end. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy fan. I'm not buying into the hype. And I will be the first to admit I'm wrong. But I would not draft J.J. McCarthy. I've never noticed anything crazy special about that kid. Yes, he just came off a national championship, sure. But in terms of fantasy, I just don't know how much value. I think it's going to be less than what Kirk Cousins can offer. And Kirk Cousins is steady Eddie. But I just don't see it with a guy like J.J. McCarthy. As I look down this list, though, there is one name that I want you to kind of just like eye up. I like Michael Pennix Jr. Now, I know what you're going to say. Kirk Cousins is in Atlanta. Michael Pennix Jr. won't see the field. Michael Pennix Jr. threw the best ball in college football last year. Was I shocked? A little bit that he went top 10. A little bit. But at the same time, no. Because I thought he should have won the Heisman over Jaden Daniels based on impact for team, impact on season. When you think of last season, last college football season, you don't think of Jaden Daniels. You think of Michael Pennix Jr. over Jaden Daniels. So when you think of overall hype, build-up, special player, whatever the Heisman Trophy is defined as, I thought it leaned more in Michael Penix's direction than it did Jaden Daniels. But I think he's a name to watch out for. I'm not saying, hey, you're going to see this guy take the first snap in Atlanta. But what I will tell you is I don't think it's going to be as long before you see it. Why pick somebody like that at 8 if you don't intend to use him? Why is he listed below Bo Nix? It blows my mind. Penix Jr. is 29th in overall fantasy. 29th on the list. That includes your quarterbacks, your running backs, your wide receivers, tight ends. I get it. 29th. He was the 4th quarterback off the board and is on a better team than a Drake May. a Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels could be a lot like what RG3 was and really show off his legs and arm and be a special talent and hopefully last longer in the NFL. RG3 was hit with the injury bug. But beside that, Michael Pennix Jr., I probably like him as much as I like Caleb Williams. You just won't see Michael Pennix Jr. as early as some of those other guys. So keep an eye on him because he could be a late, strong addition to a fantasy roster, a fantasy lineup. Kahm Broham back in studio. He bounced out because he had to go make his fantasy picks. He was a part of the 8-hour fantasy draft, and he was.
Yeah, did I miss your top 10, or were you at like 12, 15 now?
So I went through the top 10. I spoke a little bit about wide receivers and where I was kind of uneasy with my pick 4 and pick 9 in my upcoming draft. But then I also gave my sleeper, Cam, which was, I just got off the point, Michael Pennix Jr. I can't believe this guy is 29th on the overall list, and he was pick 8 in the NFL draft. I know Kirk Cousins is there, but Michael Pennix Jr. is not a mistake pick in the top 10. Atlanta's not wasting a top 10 pick on a guy that they don't intend to start, let's say 2 years down the road. You may have to sit on him a little bit, but he threw the best ball in football last year. I'm a huge Michael Penix fan.
And they won't start him, right? That's not probably the plan.
No, because Kirk Cousins will get the start. He's got the veteran status.
Yeah.
And he's got the experience, and Michael Penix will learn under him. It's going to be a lot like what we saw maybe with an Aaron Rodgers, right? When he was learning under Brett Favre and then took over. Aaron Rodgers thought he should have went higher in his draft, and Michael Penix I think we all thought he should have gone lower, but the roles were reversed. I know this dude's a special player. I know he's a special talent, and he's going to be a difference maker in the league.
And Aaron Rodgers
is
always high on himself anyway. Like, that's just his thing. So
yeah, he's a little upset in the draft, and Michael Penix was just like, "Yeah, I know I'm deserving of being in this spot." But Cam, let's go back to your the top 10 here.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
You must love to see Xavier Worthy in the top 10.
Mr. Worthy, he is definitely going to do some cool stuff for us, I think. Yeah.
Well, especially because who knows the status of Rashee Rice?
True. Yeah. I mean, I think he's looking at suspension, right?
Yep.
At least a couple games, but nothing too crazy at this point. Who knows? There's still more summer to be had, more hijinks to find there. But I think Xavier Worthy's gonna be a nice fit for him.
Well, and the reason I bring that up too is, in Kansas City, it takes 1 week to name yourself, a starter in that lineup and to earn the trust of Patrick Mahomes. You catch balls, you're earning his trust right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many drops last year, it was insane.
It was wild. It was very frustrating, but still, still winning the championship.
Yeah, which is, stupid. It's just absolutely stupid when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. Xavier Worthy could easily earn the trust of Patrick Mahomes right away, and in 2 weeks become his favorite target. In 2 weeks without Rashee Rice or whatever it ends up being. Right. And maybe the punishment's out there and it's just been so long and I just glossed right over it. But it doesn't take long for somebody to earn the trust of a quarterback. You catch touchdowns, he's throwing the ball to you. You catch deep balls, he's going to keep throwing the ball to you. Why was Tyreek Hill a favorite for Patrick Mahomes? Because he could easily put up 200 yards and 3 scores.
Yeah, he fast.
Catches anything that came to him.
Yeah, catches it and he's gone. That's the thing. Xavier Worthy being a very fast dude. I think he had a high fastest 40 time in the combine.
He had a very strong 40 time.
So,
yes.
Get that speedster back, so that's always a good thing.
And most of these guys in the top 10 of players you're going to see be strong impacts for their teams. Now, what you have to realize is you also have to pick a guy based on who his quarterback is. Because I was telling a story, Cam, on how I chose Jerry Jeudy just because he was by far labeled as the best receiver in the draft way back when.
Right.
He goes to the Broncos. They didn't really have a strong quarterback. Jerry Jeudy doesn't have a very strong career.
Right.
But you can pair up really any of these guys. Marvin Harrison Jr. has Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray likes to throw the football. He likes to sling it. Roma Dunze has Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, #1 pick in the draft. You have Brian Thomas Jr. in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, pretty good quarterback. Xavier Worthy, Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, Lad McConkey, LA Chargers, Justin Herbert, pretty good quarterback. You're not really going to miss on a lot of these guys. Keon Coleman, Buffalo, Josh Allen, Ricky Pearsall, San Francisco, Brock Purdy. The only one that I have, question marks surrounding his name is Malik Neighbors, and he's way up there because he has Daniel Jones. But I'm also at the point where I'm like, who cares? Because Daniel Jones won't be the quarterback of that team next year. So they'll end up drafting a quarterback, and who knows who that looks like. But that's why I don't think Malik Neighbors is that far off of a top pick too.
You don't think Daniel Jones will be around in the 25 season?
I don't. I didn't think he should have been around this season.
Well,
he got that big contract, and then he just fell flat on his face.
He really
did. I know he got injured as well, but he also just isn't a very good quarterback. He came from Duke. Duke is not a very good football team. I don't care if he has the prototypical build of what you want out of a starting quarterback.
He definitely looks like a dude that should be a really good quarterback, just based on everything.
Huge.
On paper, he looks like, yep, this guy's a stellar quarterback, but yeah, for whatever reason, he just does not show up. Except for maybe once every other game, he'll do something like, "Oh crap, Daniel Jones is here," and then he'll just fall on his face again.
Yeah, no one knew he could run, and then all of a sudden he's cooking on the football field, and it's like, where did this come from? You shouldn't be this guy. You're not that guy, pal. But he ended up being that guy. So there's just a lot of certainty, I would say. Like normally I'm over here saying, gosh, man, there's so much uncertainty with this player or that player. I just find it to be like a lot of certainty this year. Am I weird to say that? Like, am I off by saying that?
You'll probably be off once we get the season rolling and you're like, oh, wow, I was way off. In some facets, obviously those number one picks are going to be probably stellar. Just because that's how they are. But there might be a couple of things that are just super surprising, as there always is every season. But you're more the fantasy guy. I only did last year. It was my first time ever playing fantasy football.
And it was fun.
And it was fun.
And he's doing it again.
It was great. We are doing it again. Awesome. I'll pick. I'll get down there for the draft. I'll pick.
Hey, I will say this, too. Former Nebraska running back / wide receiver. And finished his career at Rice, I believe. Luke McCaffrey. 35th on this list of players. He's wide receiver 18 in Washington, out of he's the 18th best in terms of rookies. But 35th on this list, that's pretty good. That's above Braylon Allen, who was the running back at Wisconsin. Will Shipley, running back at Clemson. You can just keep going down the list. You see Spencer Rattler's name at 43. He's QB7. I would not draft him. Stay away. Marcus Satterfield would agree. I shouldn't put words in his mouth, but I'm going to. Cody Schrader, if you remember him, product of Mizzou. He was the walk-on turned superstar. He's in San Francisco at 56. You won't be drafting any of these guys I'm saying right now because it's so low and they will be hardly owned. But
I might be because I'm always late to the draft. And I got hosed out of a couple picks last year.
Yes, you did.
I was stuck with, who the hell did I have? I had, what's his name? The guy hurt like 3 games in. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers, but it was someone.
Aaron Rodgers was hurt 3 plays.
Oh no, it was what's his name for the Bengals?
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. He hosed me last year because
Joe Burrow is still a top 3 quarterback in football.
Still,
so
but also
you shouldn't be too mad.
That's one of those surprises. Like, yeah, I guess I'll take Joe. He's always pretty solid. Then nope, he's not.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, not what you're looking for.
Yeah,
right?
would have gladly taken him if he would have made a run for the playoffs, but no such luck.
I'll tell you, though, at pick 11, Trey Benson out of Florida State, he's beast. He's beast. Arizona running back. Who is the starting running back in Arizona right now? I don't even think I could tell you. This will be the last point.
We're Googling.
And then I'll let everybody go. Arizona see, I can't put running backs because I got to type in depth chart. Arizona depth chart. I'm just excited to see Kyler Murray back on the field. I don't know why. I always like that dude.
He's scrappy.
He is. He's very stretchy.
4'9". He's super short.
Yeah. He's about 4'9", give or take 6 inches. But we'll leave it at that. Come on, ESPN, load for me. I want to show
I'm
the people.
6'5", so anybody that's under 6 is just a tiny person to me. So
no, but I'm excited for my draft. My draft actually coming up this weekend. I'm having all the boys over. It's going to be a fun night.
Heck yeah.
I don't have to pay for pizza and beer because I didn't get last. James Conner, that's who the running back is there. But he's also somebody that's dealt with injuries over his career. It wouldn't shock me if Trey Benson took over. I can't believe I forgot James Conner's name, but here I am admitting my faults. Just like I'll admit that I probably shouldn't have said all of these are certainties.
Yeah. I mean, it's a busy day for you. You know, you got a lot of things jumping around in your brain. So
I know. You know what? We're prepared for the PBC about a month away here in Omaha, which is fun. So we are about to kick off media day, and kind of just get after it. We love golf in the middle of the week. Who doesn't love to golf in the middle of a week? But that's your fantasy top 10. That's kind of a little deep dive into what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for. Maybe you're looking for some of the same. Cam, if you, in 1 year, I want you to tell me what was the hardest position to either fill weekly or get overall certainty last year for you in your first year of fantasy?
Outside of that quarterback situation, because once I had Joe Burrow and he was out, I'm like, oh, who do I got? I had whoever the heck I had backup. It was lame. Outside of that situation, I would say probably to get certainty, it was probably a tight end thing for me.
So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
those are the two positions that are the hardest to fill, and that's why I really love taking a chance on Brock Bowers early in dynasty drafts, because not only is he just an unbelievable talent, and he's coming back from that injury, and we saw a little bit of him, but before that injury, he was outstanding. He's as surefire as what I would call a Mark Andrews, a Sam Laporta right away. Right. Coming out of the draft. I'm not going to compare anybody to Travis Kelce right now. I think that's completely unfair. He's Travis Kelce who just did stupid things with a stupid quarterback, and now he's just stupid Hall of Fame awesomeness all in one.
Yeah, it must be rough.
Life must be rough to be Travis Kelce on and off the field.
I'm excited to see his new game show. That's completely beside the point, but he's going to be a good game show host, I think. Or it'll be super awkward and very cringeworthy. One of the two.
That dude is wild. He should host it with his brother, if anything.
Well, that would be a good show.
Their podcast.
They hosted a show together at some point. Yeah.
Their podcast is already awesome, but that would just be the cherry on top. All right, that's your fantasy overlook. I'm going to get back to it. Cam's going to get back to it.
I could join you for like 2.5 minutes. Sorry, I had to piece out there for a minute.
Like I said, you were making your pick. You must be in my buddy's league.
I was jotting down all the notes. Yeah.
Yeah. He just drafted Blake Corum. I would not draft Blake Corum.
Oh, no.
But Blake Corum's a beast. Like, he's a good player, good running back. But I wouldn't draft him because of the Kyren Williams. Let's just call it blockade that will prevent Blake Corum from touching the football early on. That is it. My favorite pick in the draft. I'm going to say it right now, Brock Bowers. Cam, your favorite pick? Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy, for sure. Yeah.
I don't even have to ask. That's Kahm Broham. I'm Andrew Rogers. Another edition of Rogers Rules. We'll see you next week.